I think what we're seeing in our culture is a revival of righteousness and a revival of iniquity. And so in one sense, the light is getting brighter all around, and we're seeing people come to the Lord in record numbers. And I think God is utilizing this time period over the last 18 months as a real time period of refining and reforming the church for the days ahead. And so it's been super useful. What the enemy meant for evil, God, in fact, is using for good.
Yeah.
But not only are we having a revival of righteousness, we're having a revival of iniquity. And so as things are getting brighter and better, things are also getting darker. And I believe that those two revivals grow like the wheat and the tares until the Master returns.
Yeah.
And so it's connected even to the way that we view eschatology or the end times. This idea that these two things grow together, and in doing so, the Church of Jesus Christ advances. And Scripture says the gates of hell will not prevail against it.
Yes.
That's why we encourage people to be a part of a church. Find a community that they can plug into, because it's the one organization on earth that the gates of hell are guaranteed not to prevail against.
So give us an update on what's going on with your case there in Washington State, because as you can see here in Texas, it's not
right
like it is in Washington
This is a different nation down here.
Yeah.
It's the nation of Texas here. But, you know, I think government bureaucrats are not used to hearing the word no. And when I search Scripture, what I'm convinced of is that Caesar is not the head of the church. Christ is.
That's right.
And so as we really understand that and reframe our ecclesiology around that understanding, we communicated back to the government, hey, we appreciate your advice. Thank you for the mandate. We know that you've got a job to do, and we know that government is instituted by God. The framework, the wineskin of government is God's idea. However, in this case, we must obey God over man. And so we just told them, if you want to find us, you can do that. If you're looking for us, we're going to be at church every Sunday. But we're not going to shut down the gathering of God's people, because not only is it a right guaranteed by the Constitution, it's a command given to us in Scripture.
That's right.
The gathering of God's people is not just a good idea if you can get around to it. Like if you can wake up on time on Sunday, it's a good idea to get to church. It's actually a command from Scripture. And so we just used the voice that God's given us and said, hey, we appreciate your insight, but here's the reality. Our church is going to gather because it's a command from God to do so. And while the church was shut down, the same government that was restricting the right of church people to gather was encouraging protests in the streets, rallies of all sorts of different kinds. So what started out as caution turned into control. And so really what we have is the government micromanaging what free speech they want to allow based on their moral framework.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so instead of allowing the church to gather, we're going to allow strip clubs to be open, the bars to be open, protests to burn down buildings in the street.
Insane.
But God forbid the Christians gather and worship. And so if there's ever been a time for the church to be open, it's now.